now is how to get projects involved on SanchoNet. And at the current state, SanchoNet is more or less empty. We got DReps. I can hear myself, Marcus. That's okay. Yeah, so right now, the SanchoNet is more or less empty. You got DReps, that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's improving, but there's around 1,000 DReps, but there's like 300 delegators or something like that.
Yeah, so, but the one problem that we see is that we cannot do a realistic testnet scenario if we only have DReps. Of course, we need delegators, but we also need to have projects. We need to have projects building things on SanchoNet so we can have something that is more similar to mainnet than what it is right now. So I can give you one example. So let's say you have a DEX, and that DEX decides to pull its liquidity, and you use that for a voting snapshot. What would happen? They would have a lot more voting power than what they're supposed to have. Or you could have a whale. Let's say you have a $50 million whale. That's 50 million ADA whale. And he or she decides to go to LendFi, borrow 200 million ADA, and then take a snapshot and then sell it. And then pay it back. That's a $50 million bag having a $250 million ADA voting power. That's worrisome. And without having a DEX or a lending platform, or it could be anything else for that matter, without having those projects on SanchoNet, how can we actually test it? We can theorize it, but we can't really test it out. So that's why here on Builderfest with the coders and programmers, I wanted to pay some attention to that, because probably there are people here in the room who knows how to put things on the testnet. So yeah.
Can I add to that?
Of course.
So I think one of the problems for projects and for developers in general is SanchoNet currently is moving so fast. You have a new change and version every week or every second week, where you have to start with new addresses and everything. Like, I think many projects would like to have some form of more stable network where we can actually test like more high activity, and then we could have the SanchoNet for some form of like lower activity. So we test these different scenarios. But I would like to discuss with you guys on this, like, how would such testnet look like? Should it be inheriting pre-prod, or should it be on another testnet? Like, are there some possible pitfalls with making pre-prod as well, like the more stable testing of governance? So yeah, I think that's one of the issues, but I completely agree with Thomas.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So if you can just go to the next slide. So yeah, so we have written down 3 problems. So we have a lack of data generation. It's like right now there are currently not that many users, 1,000 plus, which means we do not have a lot of data coming in compared to what we want.
To be fair, I think they just spun up again.
Yeah,
so yeah.
So that's one issue that we want to solve. Is like, this is more or less onboarding. How do we get more people? And B's going to talk even more about that. Yeah, so lack of data generation and an unrealistic testnet environment. Like I said, we don't have anything that looks anything like mainnet. So how can we make it more like mainnet or or pre-prod? And also project involvement, like I said. So the core of this, how to get projects involved, because projects we need that to get that. So yeah, those are the, and if you, just like last time, if you have any other issues on this topic, talk about that instead. But these are our examples, and yeah, I guess we can do the same thing as we did. It worked pretty well. Just split up into a couple of groups and just have a talk for, yeah, I guess 20 minutes. Should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think these are pretty self-explanatory, but I would add, like, project development, obviously incentives could be something to discuss, but I would love also if we can try to be creative and think of other angles as well for that.
Would it be possible to write a centralized testnet for SanchoNet?
If it's possible, why would there not be?
Interset will fund that, or
Yeah.
someone will fund that?
But yeah, definitely discuss that as well. Absolutely.
All right. Let's start the group chat.
Okay.
I'm just writing a sticky with your name to that at the same time, like some incentivization, because why would I go there? I don't think my preview works. Nobody, people that love to are incentivized. Why would you? I think it's a good thing though. I mean, I don't know, they're looking at that's
Oh.
for them.
Yeah, take care. Safe travels.
I think are you going to get valid participation if they're just after
The money. Yeah.
But
Well, as long as they participate, right?
Yeah.
Like, we just need that interaction. Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
so you already have some months of testing. So this volume is something that you really need, or something that you would like to have.
We do not have currently, I would say, a sufficient amount of organization activity on SanchoNet. I'm quite concerned if we basically are testing an unrealistic scenario in SanchoNet currently, and we should not launch this on mainnet without having a high activity scenario that we're testing out.
Honestly, like without incentivized testnet, it's just make it easy. I don't need to be paid. I need to go to like I use build front end dApps, or like dApps that runs that client side. I need to be able to go like pre-prod, SanchoNet, and like I got a Blockfrost key. Just host some Blockfrost instance and give me a key. I'll run on SanchoNet. I mean, I won't be using all of the extra features yet, but it just needs to be easy.
Yeah.
Having to download a new wallet for SanchoNet, I will download it Lace. It's kind of pain, you know?
Yeah.
Is there a way to integrate that into any of the other wallets?
Oh, like an automation of, for example, the faucet and putting it in your
SanchoNet
address.
isn't listed in a faucet. Right?
Yeah, it's also a problem. So we have a pain point already.
I'm talking about the wallet, because you know you cannot use SanchoNet on Lace.
That's
You have to download SanchoNet, the Lace version. Like
yeah. There's a
SanchoNet
specific version. I think eternally you can directly, but Lace maybe not.
Okay, well I was with Lace, so maybe
Yeah.
the other ones.
Yeah, I think Eternal.
They have Sancho?
Yeah,
But it's like a month old. Like
Quite,
I joined like in November, and it was new firewall. That's it. And then Lace came, and then there was one more wallet, but it's very slow. So by the time we get to the wallets,
Is it on again now?
Yeah.
that are like.
that's a good point. And we need to communicate that's out there now. Like
And
you can
there
use
were
it.
two engineers behind me.
Uh-huh.
20, 30 minutes ago. Yeah, which wallet do I use?
Yeah,
How do I
like I
get
said,
TA?
Engineers.
It's like you
Go
go
on
to
there to
the
make changes.
Discord and IoT, and
Yeah.
Vote
Mike was
on,
like,
decide on.
Exactly.
Part of that process every time.
Yeah.
is there a website? I don't know if they have one now.
Governance.
And even if it was a faucet, like it, I think you could at some point, but like that's tedious as well. You need to add the link to your address. You need to go to that web page. You need to make sure you select the right network. You need to click. Like if you describe it, probably it's like a page of actions you need to do to be able to be a
That's
DRep.
probably maybe the reason. Nah, I guess
And I guess all of those are needed to be
that's
tested.
actually simplified by having dedicated wallet.
everybody
because
has to
then that wallet is on time.
Yeah.
If you install it, it's there.
Yeah, but just to install
Hardest
a
thing
new
to
wallet.
get
But then you have to have a new wallet, and it's also
try
weird
things out.
because
Yeah.
I mean, technical people, they're like,
Everybody
oh yeah,
like
I'm gonna have
incentives.
two wallets.
Mm-hmm.
If you have two laces next to each other, you'll get
Have
frustrated.
like a
Mm.
participatory NFT mint thing.
Don't get
A participatory NFT.
Because
because they have the one function. You have the SanchoNet place wallet and the wallet.
Yeah, I voted
I don't know
badge.
At least it should be very simple to switch to recycle.
We'll
Send you a sticker in the mail. We have
Just make an NFT on back of the car with a bumper sticker on
And
it.
I don't do a lot of preview. I have some
with the
stuff
wrap,
and I
just
have
like if you don't
stuff.
test it.
Yeah.
this is what you-
It's everything, but what about turning pre-prod, making pre-prod, what again? All again? Turning, or until,
Actually, the only thing that comes to my mind
pre-prod
is
is the only
incentivize or some kind of
network
NFT
that
for the
does have
NFT
non-government
hunters.
stuff. But having a,
Wouldn't really
having
have
four
a
Yeah.
tests, sometimes it's nice, like, and.
Yeah.
And then you would only get the NFT and then stop.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Have a-
too.
You would have to like, oh, for every action you have an
Which
NFT.
is it's a valid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Test data.
Yeah.
But why
Yeah.
if you are
And it translates into
on
a
the test net, you
proportional
are
real
working
data.
for
Yeah.
a DApp, and suddenly someone does a
If you
governance section
participate
and
for
half
12
of
consecutive months for a year,
Uh,
then you
well,
get a gold.
again, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
then you can sell.
Yeah, but that way, since you're transparent about it, then we let people know, hey, preview is gonna be governance.
and you leave
If you want to go to pre-prod, then you will have to test there for the duration. And if you're not, and again, it's sticky, you know, they may stay. You know, those that even didn't listen to the announcement or they're gonna use it, they will get us data. Because they're doing stuff alongside the governance actions versus right now we have like a governance network. It's like,
It's such a good point because all I know is like when I talk to people, like they're so annoyed. They're registered DRep, they have minted the faucet to try to get as much as possible, and all of it's gone 1 week later, and they have to start all over again. And like, oh, why bother? I don't want to.
yeah, I think that might be the reason why they're not doing it. The question is checking in with IoT.
Yeah.
It's like, is there a way to do it without respins, or will we not have any respins? Because that was annoying to me, and I'm like actively
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
do stuff on there.
Yeah.
So, like, that could be the reason why they're saying like, hey, we don't need to preview, because I don't think that's, anybody would use it then, like, and then there's no
How
sense.
are the, for example, the
I agree.
systems are doing it to attract users for their test nets and
as an SPO,
stuff?
I feel the frustration of having to, provision all the services.
Oh God, yes, that's my frustration too.
Right, so we have that, so
yeah.
if, if we feel the frustration, then let alone the end users,
Yeah.
right, and then the projects that are building on it, right, so they have to re-provision all of their services, and then the users have to reset all of their, setup as well.
Yeah.
Can I ask what that entails? A reprovision?
The provisioning,
Yeah.
pretty much setting up the node, creating wallet, like doing all that stuff, pretty much setting up the whole like stateful operation.
You have to run all your scripts again and verify everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you've done it enough, you have it somewhat automated.
Yeah,
Right.
sure,
Doesn't take away
Ansible.
the frustration, but
Okay, there's
Still
not,
annoying.
there's not a one-click.
it's not,
No.
no. But,
It could be, of course.
I think that's the thing, like incentivized testnet was mentioned. I just think like just make it easy.
Mhm.
Whatever the friction points are, just take them out and people will come.
But again, I'm not saying
more-
this
it will
is
make more return on
inherently
the stake
bad,
with NFT.
right?
Mhm.
And I'm not sure if we'll go to the point of saying like, hey, let's stop the respinning. Like, if respinning is what it takes to do it right,
Yeah.
like, let's do it multiple times.
Yeah.
Right, I just wanna acknowledge that there's frustration at different levels, right? So we
Mhm.
can't expect users to start
In that
using,
case, though,
dApps
discuss
that are not yet built on top of something that is long-lived. right?
Why
We
would
can't
you
expect-
bother to try to implement a tool if you have to change it again 1 week later? Like, no, that's not going to work.
It's already kind of hard to bring users to test their dApps on testnet, right? It's gonna be even harder to ask them to redo it every couple of weeks on
Yeah.
Sancho.
I think, yeah, but we should be making like cloud native software, right? Whatever it is
True.
that is making these points of friction that we're redoing manually, we need to find them and
Automate them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, but they still like, I mean, I remember one script and it's still, you have to go and run the script, like, it can't just like, there is no way to, a respin happened, like, everything was re-provisioned, right? You still have to go in manually, and I think there's also a communication issue, because essentially the way the respins are announced is that, like, the engineers go in the IoT Discord and write a message and announce like, hey, we're gonna respin next Friday. And
Yeah, usually-
that's the announcement.
There's no like.
No, yeah, and usually a few days before, like, hey, we're spinning in a few days.
It can be quite hard. So I understand that the DReps don't want to get paid, for example.
Yeah, we try to provide that.
But yeah, and what you said, so I was thinking about like, I
Exactly.
appreciate when someone is contributing that.
Even the
I'm always
infrastructure
thinking like,
providers.
hey,
Yeah.
When the steps are
contributing in open source, it's super fine, but on the other hand, he has to pay rent or something. He has to eat something, and then
Okay.
it doesn't come from
Yeah,
open source.
I don't want to hold up the discussion, but I
Mostly.
have no idea what you guys do. But I feel like
that's
if
why I
everyone's
think
doing
when it's
it,
a full-time
is
job,
there a
then
way
there
like you have
has
like
to
a
be
system
some
D process
incentive,
pros and
incentive,
conflicts?
because when you get incentive, then you can spend more time on that, because then you, I don't know, skip your other job and then just do it full-time.
Yeah. But I think as for the full-time jobs, I think that's where the
I've heard some
that-
frustration from
I
Martin,
think
yes.
that's gonna a lot of that's gonna be done by MBOs.
Can we push that
Yeah.
upstream,
Yeah.
downstream?
So,
I don't know which way it's
You'll
supposed to go.
have you'll have people requesting funds
But like
from the
whatever the
treasury
Discord messages, make that a GitHub
specifically
repo
to
that they
be
have to like
DReps.
update those scripts in and
Yeah.
be like, this
And,
is the next thing that we'll run next
A
Friday.
lot
or
of
whatever. I
a
mean,
lot of those are
that's
going to be
unreasonable.
MBOs
But that-
because
I want to
of that.
touch
So
on what you
it's
said,
not gonna
like
be
we
one
acknowledge
singular
that maybe
person,
those
although
respins
in
are
many
needed,
cases it's
but
gonna be
like
an
make both of them, and I
with
could even envision
several
like a
people
tool
doing
on
it
like
full or
GovTool
part-time.
where you're a DRep,
And,
you could just click a button to say like
yeah,
reactivate,
that's how I
and
think
all of the
it's gonna
scripting is
gonna
handling in the
go,
background
and
to
a
do
lot
that.
of the funding from
That
that's
could
gonna
be
come from
really-
the treasury.
For a DRep,
Yeah. So at least for
And of
end
course,
user, we
you
make that
have
pain.
Yeah, we tried to do it, but
Like,
we didn't have the
a lot of
resources to keep
SPOs
up to date
could
with,
use the DRep.
So maybe a
title
preview or
as,
some more stable network, at least it
as a
would
way
be easier to
to,
offer.
as a
Yeah.
way to get more people in. It's like if you yeah, so you can both stake and delegate to the same person. You,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
trust them. You have a reason to do both stake and delegate, and that's also another way to incentivize, like being your own boss kind of thing. So yeah, so you generate your own income instead of
Yeah,
relying
it's
on
amazing.
you rely on your delegators or yeah. there's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but not everybody may know that it exists. I mean, he's trying to publish it, whatever, but creating that awareness.
I think we're drifting
which,
from
you
the
know, we see
topic
with all
about
the-
We are.
I think that should be on GovTools, like tutorials and like community events.
Yeah, but actually,
I like that.
we're only kind of.
That's a better point. Yeah, that would be much better user experience. Currently, I would say only like the very dedicated.
Because you can only now use
Like, I think the chance to get
parameters
people in is
themselves,
not the
right?
problem.
Like, it's not like we have,
Yeah.
you mentioned like dexes or all dApps built on top of it.
Anyway, we can count on the
You have only the governance section.
Yeah, but then you'll have the dApps that run on those parameters to see what the effect is,
Yeah,
which to
but-
his point, like, that's what we need to do now. Like,
Yeah, you don't really have like a realistic, like actual project applying for treasury for a project they're trying to build. Like,
Right.
we're not really testing that
We
currently.
began by
We're at the
talking how
very
to
infrastructure level, so we need to
incentivize
start building on top of it
projects
and
for.
stuff like that.
And to your point,
Joining.
then maybe
Yeah,
it's
I
more
came in
attractive
the
than
chat a little
for
bit later,
regulars to go through
that's
this.
where we
If
started,
what
right?
you see there is
Yeah,
like a
it's
bit
incentivizing
realistic, like
projects
this is
for
how it will
joining,
be, so
so
you can
actually
practicing
giving
get a
them-
feel for how this will look.
golden NFTs.
And of course,
Dinner,
incentivizing
maybe,
it at some
whatever
point,
it is.
like to have that
Carrot.
high
Give them a
activity,
carrot.
I think that's crucial.
I think only an NFT will do.
No.
You should have an NFT of mainnet.
Yeah,
DRep walkthrough.
I
I
was.
reckon hundreds of people will use
I
that.
think the point here, not
It's my report on SanchoNet, like, oh cool, so that thing you're gonna destroy, like,
Yeah.
a couple weeks later, but like, hey, you register, and that can be, like, let's go to Pioneer's thing, where the person on chain decided he gets it, like, it was a, you know, you come into the Discord, if you're there by a certain time, then that's your threshold, that's how you,
Documenting,
and you
reporting
participate, then you get the thing on
Yeah.
mainnet, you know, there's a manual process there, but,
Yeah.
you know, there is
That's
this,
probably
that
something a lot
incentive.
of SPOs
And
would be
I do
interested
think
in
that
as well, because, you know, they
Getting the,
have-
like, I think it's good to get users.
Yeah,
because
that makes
they will
sense.
come for projects, so there's two types of users we want, right? We wanna have projects on there
Let's test
that
it.
are
Let's look already.
bringing users that
Yeah.
use their project so that we see how it interfaces with government. That's
Exactly.
one set of
Mm-hmm.
users.
Mm-hmm.
We also want users though that are coming there because they wanna participate in governance.
SPO
Yeah.
And those, the project is governance, so you can't say, let's bring a project that brings governance, because that's us. So that's a different type of user, so I think that approach would be incentivized, like, hey, you'll get like a, whatever early, governance,
Yeah.
which we can use to further.
Yeah, yeah.
That alone, without spending much money, one
Yeah.
ADA per mint, you can get probably shy of 1,000 people. Probably.
I think so too, and you could take it further. Like, so let's say we want DAOs, like you could give the DAO cool NFT to give to their users. Yeah.
There are friendly marketing strategies.
Yeah.
You can have bounty house.
Yeah. But simple incentivation, not something that costs like.
You get one if you build your app, you get one with that.
Yeah.
You set up a Discord bot that.
That reminds me of what Trim said in
I always use myself as a parameter. Would I like this? Yeah, I would absolutely love to have an NFT, but ideally on mainnet, so it's like a history of what I've done.
UN type of thing. So
it's complicated.
basically, you have a bunch of people going in, and each are given a role. So you're role playing different
Of course, not everyone
and
will be
SanchoNet
incentivized by NFT, and not everyone cares about the
you can
incentive.
get more from the faucet than just a
How
just a
about
10K.
like
So
having actual like impact things
let's say
on
someone
these
wants to
testnets?
use the
So we
Dex
have, for example,
example that I
Thomas
took.
doing stuff with
Someone wants to
consensus in
wants to
Ghana,
pretend
and
to be a
having like
Dex who
actual
pulls their
impact where
liquidity
they earn a salary, but actually
to
learn blockchain
increase
skills
their voting
to be
power.
able to sustain
We can
themselves.
simulate that.
Like, what if you could post
We
some
don't
about
really
that
need
and some governance action
really
they
need a Dex. We
enable?
just
Maybe
need
that
someone who
will
can act
attract
on it.
other types of users
So
who
if
don't
getting-
just care about
if
that
getting
NFT.
projects involved,
But
getting
yeah,
the actual products on SanchoNet,
I mean,
we can still
we
simulate
can't.
the voting.
It's a
scenario.
test net. At the end of the day, like we just need to have
that's another
a bit
scenario
more
that we-
realistic and
because-
higher numbers. If we don't attract everyone, it's
Yeah.
still acceptable, but ideally we will do that as well.
Part.
Yeah.
You get different scenarios because you know what people do. Yeah.
Everyone draws a card basically. Like, oh, cool!
Okay, I'm gonna do this.
This is my role. yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do we need to identify?
Yeah.
I can imagine it would also be really popular if you could like document it online and just like, yeah, I'm gonna do this month, follow my journey along, just like.
I mean,
Oh, like steps you need to do.
we could even gamify.
Level
it.
up.
Like, okay, if you manage to guess who I am, that is.
This week you have scenarios. You're supposed to find out who did this. And you know, in those scenarios, it will be really.
That will be
good
so
to
cool
be
to
as
have on
different
the
as
Gov
possible,
tool,
you know,
like achievements
to,
that you have done, the different
be
things.
as
Like,
obvious
I think that would work.
Yeah. It could work.
Yeah.
I really go back to like just make
Just
it
change the
easy.
entire
I'm not going to care about badges or anything. If it takes me half an hour longer than it should, I'm going to go back to it.
Of course.
I'm always trying to do something else.
Yeah.
So maybe for them, it doesn't really matter that we're running governance under the hood, right?
No.
They just wanna come in, do a swap on a DEX, right? But we still need their
We should
participation.
start wrapping up.
Right? And then perhaps it's up to the DEP developers to build on top of the government's parameters to allow the regular users to just do their own thing.
I mean, just having a faucet and having a block frost instance over the top would have made, like, I'm possibly not the target DApp, but it would just make it easy. And with that line of thinking, like, just make it easy. I just keep repeating myself, but I'm like so much.
So that will
time.
be the sticky from our group.
I'd be very happy if it was.
Yeah.
But actually, that is it's a snake that eats its own tail, because to get these guys again, I go back to like Block Frost. Do Block Frost has a SanchoNet thing? No, they don't yet. Like, so we need to incentivize projects to build on SanchoNet so that it's easy for that developer.
Absolutely.
To do stuff.
It's dev experience as always.
It's like because you go back. It's like I fully agree. If I can just plug in my existing stuff with SanchoNet,
Mm-hmm.
then but they have work to make that happen. They have no incentive to make it happen right now. So the people that rely on that infrastructure. We're missing a step here, like where the infrastructure providers are not incentivized enough to do on SanchoNet.
But
Perfect.
if you paid me to do it, I still wouldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
That's the
2
point.
minutes.
Like what, as a user, as a dev developer, or as a as an SPO?
I don't know as an SPO. So I really think like with the SPO thing, I don't understand what like the whole context. But is the person writing the CLI and changing the commands or whatever the config files? Are they
It even
aware-
breaks sometimes.
But are they aware of like their consumers? So that if there's a whole other repo of little scripts going around it, is the person changing the CLI reading that and being like, oh, my users don't need this, they need this?
I would say I personally always first do it myself, but then I use Martin Lange's script package because it's excellent. You can see what's
Yeah, I think
done.
you're talking about Carlos, right?
Yeah.
He's like the developer of the CLI.
Yeah, and he's very responsible, and he have a direct dialogue with the CLI guys who actually do this. But the problem is,
But is he aware of his consumers and how they're consuming his product, and then aware that if I make this change, this is the propagated
I
change?
believe so, but I think at
think
this
so too.
point, like he should run free. Like we should be catching up to him, right? Because
Yeah.
he's doing like the most critical thing right now. Like he's getting feedback from us. He's
Right.
communicating to us. We are aware of the things that he's doing, but it's not like he's asking us for permission, right? I feel like there is communication. We're well informed, right? There's still some frustration of the things that we have to change, but we acknowledge that it needs to be done right now. And to Neil's point, I think like that's the first step. Once this is established, then we can consolidate the services, the block frosts, the different
Right, right,
endpoints
yeah.
that developers can solve.
I agree. When they say they announce on Discord, you're saying there should be like a calendar auto-sync.
Again, this goes back to a problem that I constantly have, and that I constantly work against, and will do so. There is one communication channel that projects choose most of the time, and it's the one that 20% of people use, and there's 80% of people that are just fine.
okay, let's keep the discussion for the whole group. Yeah.
We're working on
Almost remember the plan, no?
Okay.
All right. Let's go back to the full group. So, yeah, I'm curious. Let's start over here. Did you have any points?
Yeah, we took some notes. We
brought
had
up?
some really interesting conversations. Yeah, feel free to add if I missed anything, but some of the notes that I took, we need to keep in mind the different roles and their expectations.
Yep.
So the three of those that I wrote down, like the node operators, the protocol developers, and the end users, right?
Yep.
The different roles, perhaps they have different incentives to participate on the testnet and have different expectations.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it's important to keep that in mind when thinking about getting those roles involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talk about improving the respinning process for SanchoNet nodes, so maybe this is perhaps more targeted towards like the node operators that are more involved in restarting all the services, updating all the scripts and all that. I think we understand like the phase that we're going through is necessary. Like this is a critical phase, like the building the foundation for everything that's going to be built on top of it. And I personally wouldn't want to be a barrier. I don't want to slow down. I don't want to force people to tell me, like as a node operator, hey, tell me what you're going to be doing in a week from now so that I know, right?
Yeah.
I would much rather be like, hey, do what you have to do and I'll catch up, right?
Yeah.
This is not the phase to hold you back, right? And then, consider the rewards and achievements for people that start participating on testnet. Perhaps something that could be brought to mainnet, or just something to incentivize people to participate, either by some sort of gamification or see what people want, right? NFTs, recognition, something like that.
How do you make it easier for them for these different roles? Like that was part of the discussion as well, right?
Yeah, we talk a little bit about the wallet and the connecting to SanchoNet. For example, in some cases, Eternal implemented SanchoNet like 1 month ago or less. You had to download a new wallet just for SanchoNet. I didn't get to mention this, but the DRep registration process was not the easiest. I'm not technical, but I understand some of it. And still, you have to create a document, you have to hash it, I think you have to upload it to...
Yeah, GitHub, for example.
And I think you could do that only on one website and have it all explained. And you can do it in only one website. You don't have to go to another one, then go to another one, create
Yeah.
a document.
Yeah.
If you could have that automated through the GovTool page, and when there's a respin, like to reactivate that the DRep, I think that would lower the barrier totally. And I think there was some discussion about some pain points for the developers as well, like yeah, infrastructure-wise, like having. Okay, you want to?
No, I was just thinking, what if, given that we are going to start having this Catalyst working group, we can think on a challenge for government tooling,
Mm-hmm.
for tooling for developers developing on government.
That's mainly Intersect's current focus. They're only
Yeah.
grants for
Yeah.
government stuff.
But I think, I don't know, I think Catalyst is has been until now, at least from the XPipe point of view, a very good way to sustain tooling development.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if we can focus on some tooling for.
If I'm not mistaken, I think there's going to be a grant from Intersect about that. Is it up already?
They already done several. I think actually.
Yeah, you have
the
several.
tooling one is open.
Yeah, the tooling one, is it open now?
Yeah, it's right.
Okay, yeah.
And for Catalyst, we tried since fucking Fund 3 to put in the governance. Never worked.
But some grant to have some form of like more, for example, infrastructure automation, so it's easy for the developer to spin up these things. Yeah, absolutely. And my own personal, what I started is like, if we're going to do the spin-ups, it should be in a stable environment. We can go fast and break things, but if you're a tool developer, you might not want to rewrite what you're doing every week. So having also that more stable environment to write your tool on, I think could be key as well. Yeah. If that's preview or whatever, I'm not the person to say that, but
yeah.
Some stable environment. Yep.
And I mean, do the projects, like, Blockfast probably does know, but like, are we sure that those projects know about the Intersect grants that they could apply to? Because like, Catalyst has been around for a minute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Intersect grants, I still feel like if you look at how active the Intersect Discord is, active, you will see, like, in the grants category, like, there's plenty of projects that probably don't even know that they could
absolutely
apply and provide, tooling and get paid for that.
Yeah, that whole process of communicating that grant availability. Yeah.
And the other piece to this is, because I did apply for a grant, and Catalyst is the known.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know how it works, even though it changes from grant to, from fund to fund, a little bit or sometimes more.
Mm-hmm.
The Intersect process is a little bit more. Oh no, actually, yeah, it's a little different. So I think it's like I'd rather go for, like, as an established project that knows and doesn't have like a ton of time to do grant writing. Like, we're not in academia here for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. They probably trust Catalyst to be like, okay, I know how this works, and I have like hundreds and thousands of other people that are also doing it, so they have the same problems. With Intersect, it's like 25, 30, 50 people maybe.
Yeah.
And it's a much smaller group of people also managing all that.
It's a very fair point.
The Intersect grants are, the one I saw was like for a given tool or a given solution.
No, they have open. They have open.
They have open.
Yeah, they have some more.
Yeah, and the fact that you have to ask that just tells me it's not
Yeah,
communicated well enough.
Yeah.
Busted.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
it's a good thing.
For sure, yeah.
Felix.
Also keep in mind, like,
It's hard to find.
You have to go there. It doesn't come to you.
also keep in mind, Intersect still is fairly young. Everything there. And Catalyst on the beginning, let's say in the first year, nobody gave shit about Catalyst. Nobody. And it was a real challenge to bring this to the larger community. Right?
Yeah.
Today, 3 years later, Catalyst is a place where everybody comes together. That's awesome, right? It wasn't the case in the first 1.5 years, actually. Right? For Intersect, I think they still need time as well, right?
Yeah.
To mature, to figure
Oh
out.
yeah, I do think it's completely normal to have that bootstrapping phase, and it's not. I mean, if you go to Twitter and they say like, "Oh, you announced yesterday that you exist. Tomorrow you better deliver."
So we had some points over here as well. So does anyone want to cover those?
Who wants to do the
Defluencers.
Yeah.
But actually what is interesting, we went in the same direction to say maybe Catalyst is a great place to start with.
Yeah.
Maybe setting up a proposal to think about some sort of DRep on-run work group, something, getting some funds available to get some really strong players actually available to participate in a group where we could test several roles, test several scenarios. And I think one really important thing was the storytelling.
Yeah.
Be really important, especially if you want to engage people in SanchoNet which are not that techy.
Yeah. Yeah. So the idea was that what we could do is instead of bringing projects in for real, we can pretend. Because what we're after is the voting results. We don't really need the project. We need the voting results that comes from the projects. So what we were thinking was like kind of like let's call it a model UN. So where everyone's given a role, and you're playing that role as best as you can. So let's say you're playing a DEX that pulls their liquidity to improve their voting power. Then that person is the person who's playing that part is given that testnet ADA to simulate the voting results. So that was a general.
Could I mint an NFT collection on SanchoNet? Like 10,000.
Minting, why not? It's the same node. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I think to your point, like Mike Hornan is already doing, like he's gathering, like I think weekly, and he having sometimes like days where they test out scenarios. So it's sort of like the UN game where they stress test. I think we need those type of scenarios. Like we currently have what I call a low activity testnet, and we need to have a full-fledged test of a high activity SanchoNet, and that should be done. If it's real or if it's a test, you could do that over a week, but at least we try to test it and see if it breaks or everything works. Yeah.
Yeah, we should absolutely stress test it to the limit.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, I think we're right on time. So yeah, we have set up lunch downstairs. Let's see, do you remember what time you're going on, B? We'll find it. I think it's on the agenda somewhere. Yeah, Oscar. Oh no.
I hope you had a good lunch. So in this segment, we're going to talk a bit about community and how much it means for a DRep. For those of you who don't know me, my name is B. I am a DRep, and this is the part where you guys say, "Hi, B." Hi. So yeah, I am a DRep, and you have all delegated your ADA to me so that I can vote on your behalf. But as we already have discussed, you know, having that delegation doesn't necessarily make me a good DRep. And so, again, we're going to dive into what a community is and how much it can help for DReps to excel and get more delegation. So, what defines a community? Well, we have set up four different buzzwords, I would say. So for me, my community is my information pipeline. So the community is the pulse of everything. They're the ones in the trenches doing all the dirty work and finding out all the proposals that we want or whatever it is that we want to push. And I can't keep up with everything. Nobody can. And that's why I'm very dependent on my community to be able to inform me about what is going on around us. And by having an open communication line for where I find that information, it becomes very important for, it can help me find the insights and the ideas or whatever it is that the community wants. But that also opens the question to, do I have my own proposals or any other proposals that I have to pay attention to? Because, you know, again, there's a lot of information everywhere. And also, are there any areas where my delegators are very strong in their sentiment? And that's something that I would hope my community would be able to inform me about whenever we're going through these processes. but also my community is my I struggle with that word, my legitimacy engine, meaning that, I mean, we've talked about this before, we are very based on trust. Everything's trust, and if I can't trust you, and if I don't have track record telling me that, well, this is a person that you can trust, this is a DRep that has followed every single step that they have talked about, I mean, I can say it, obviously, but if I don't have anybody who's there to represent me, say, well, I can actually vouch for this person. They have done exactly what they've told us that they were going to do. It becomes really important for me to have that alignment with my community, because that, again, attracts more delegators, because you have this track record of, oh, well, but she has been doing what she's been saying all along. And also, my community is my feedback channel. I don't know if you guys can see that one. I make decisions on behalf of my community and my delegates, and I vote, but I don't know if I'm right. You know, I need to be able to, I wouldn't say right, but if I'm on the right track. But I need to also be held accountable. I mean, I need that response from my community, like, okay, was this okay? What do we think? What's the pulse? What's going on? And, you know, I'm also, like I said, dependent on their suggestions and their ideas of what might improve later. And that also helps me represent them better. You know, like we talked about in our group, like DReps can, or are supposed to evolve. We're supposed to become, I was going to say better versions of ourselves, but we are that already. And finally, my community is not my vanity metric, but the foundation for informed voting. And it also legitimizes collective action. Oh. So by building my community, I'm not only serving my delegators, but I also become a more effective DRep. So with all of this in mind, you know, information, legitimacy, feedback, and vanity, we're going to talk more about 4 issues that we brought forward, which are these. So this is what we're going to work on in the Miro board. So first of all, how do we acquire delegators? Second of all, how do we promote ourselves to the community? And how can we communicate with our delegators? And also doxing, undoxed, another discussion that we had. So these are the 4 things we're going to discuss now in the same groups. We can do what we already done. We sit in groups and just discuss everything, and then we'll come back here later. Yeah. I'll come here. Okay.
Someone could tell me how to acquire delegators.
Yeah.
The one is like where you identify the different actors in the community you're trying to serve. So for example, you want to support all of the DeFi developers or whatever as a DRep. You could target that, you could target like other groups. That's one approach as a DRep, like target interest groups and representing their interests. Another one is simply geographically. Like I am a Nordic ADA community DRep representing an organization that's geographically located in Norway, for example. What could the other approaches be? Core issue that aligns along the different interest groups. So, for example, I am really passionate about the environment. I am in the CNC Alliance. I could try to represent and vote on everything related to the environment. Or maybe I'm more about anonymity, or maybe network state is my really powerful topic. Yeah. I'm just trying to get you fired up, really. But I'm a true believer in the network state, because not something like on top of what we already have or politics, but as a beacon of hope for like people wherever country you are from, you could have some form of rights and have that opportunity. That's such a powerful thing, and a blockchain can actually give that, because you can connect across, not physical, but across in the internet communication channels. And this, it relates to this topic because you can have some universal topic you are representing as a DRep. It's not about your geographic location, right? So I see that as one potential very attractive way of acquiring delegates, representing a very strong topic. So those are my three things.
Was the question about how to find one to represent you?
No, the other way around.
How do DReps attract delegators?
If it was the other way around, and there was some platform where, I think this might be a bit laborious, but like, here are some proposals that if you pretend you're a DRep, how would you vote? You vote three of them.
Yeah.
You'd be like, these people best match you.
Yeah.
I mean, this system would be the quickest way for me to find a DRep.
Yeah, Tinder, yeah. Matchmaking. I will match you with your DRep.
That's actually
A big problem with decentralization is complete fragmentation
Yeah.
of like research and finding. So I think if you had like a like a questionnaire kind of thing, it could be people get upset.
Yeah.
I'm not high enough rated. But if it's literally like how would you vote on these governance proposals,
Yeah.
no one can get too offended, and it generates itself.
That's very good.
You have to remember that one for the next one.
What was the question again? How? Oh,
yeah. Questionnaire from the blockchain, for example,
Tinder.
picking up past proposals, and then you answer them, and then you see some DReps which answer the same.
Yeah, and so they're totally generated.
Yeah.
I think one really important thing for this, like which architecture do we actually, there's something really missing, like I need some sort of knowledge graph.
Yeah.
It's already, how do we structure the data, that we can do whatever stuff like this. I think there's something really, ecosystem map, for example, right? And I'm really going to say, okay, what data set and architecture do we actually do to build some stuff? Right now there is not a lot, right? And that's the problem. Information is so friction.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to make sense out of it. I think there's something where we really need some better improvements.
Yeah.
We need some data sets for community where we can actually start to high-quality data lakes.
What would be in it that isn't on chain?
We just have like one group chat. Just.
Sure, but like the new name said, we need this, we need to query this, we need to store this.
And maybe there roles in the ecosystem. You can say, for example, you can create proposals, you have owners, you have SPOs. What initiatives are already there? What happened already in Fund 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Generate massive data with Cardano.
Collect the information and then
Don't
based
really
on that,
put it
then
in
you have
structured
an on-chain
so all the data you generate becomes inaccessible to us.
if you tie it together an on-chain confirmation of like, hey, we all agree,
more
this is
inaccessible
what we should do. And then, either you have, and I know that
So unless we build
Mike
tools
has
to
done
do
this,
this, it
like,
will be
because we
harder
have
and harder and
different types
harder
of DReps. We have
to
to have
find
individual
this
states,
ocean of
like
governance.
you
Yeah.
making a
Because
DRep,
look,
and then people tell
Fund 3,
you,
okay, we had 20 proposals, cool.
and we have problematic DReps, that means they can just,
Yeah.
their outcomes are
Took me
far
2
below others.
freaking days to vote on everything.
Like overall,
That way you
just
can tie in those governance
we
tooling
don't have
systems
yet a good
and
tool
enforce
to
that.
actually translate
Once
this into
the
something
community has said
effective.
this is what we want,
Which has
that's
already
the only way the
more
DRep can vote. They could
Would
only
you call
vote
this
what the community said
rudimentary
or abstain,
ecosystem
like not
mapping, or
participate at all,
is it
because they
more
couldn't
than ecosystem
go
mapping
against
to
what was
do this
decided.
like matching
So we
between
enforce
what
that
others are
multi-layer.
voting
Yeah, and you
and
could
what
also
you
define the
prefer yourself to
inner,
vote? What I'm trying to get is
the
is
community,
like,
which is
can this be used as a more like general finding tool? Like for example, developers caring about these issues and trying to develop something related to this vote. Like, could we take it
That's why I
even a
asked
step
if
further?
I mean, I don't know. Ben suggested an ecosystem map back in Oslo, where he had like different sections of like, oh, you need this. Well, these are the people you should talk to, and then you have this, and these are the people you should talk to. But I think it was very interactive. So I don't remember if it was like a questionnaire or anything, but you would find that information. But we just put in like, okay, but we do this, but we also do this, and it would just like point you in those directions. And I think that would be something.
because I don't think there's like
one threshold.
The
for
main-
all the types of
what he
reporting.
suggested was more or less a visual scatter plot.
Yeah.
From the first moment,
Yeah, so
everything
you
programmatic,
have
could
this
do, I mean, you could do it
semi-big
in a more
questionnaire.
manual way.
A lot of, do you do
Yeah,
this,
you can
do
look
this,
up the
do
domain,
this?
you just have the
What do you think
equivalent,
about
and
this?
You have an on-chain confirmation, this is what was
Then,
sent, and then if
based on those
whoever owns
answers,
the
it
actual
puts you
vote
at a
then votes
coordinate.
not that.
So
Well, that's something you
everyone,
have to solve.
everyone
Well, that's what we were
in the same
proposing
vicinity
before
as you
of this,
have answered more or less the same. So all in that area have they have similar interests. All in this area have answered differently. So that was short on how he was trying to map out the ecosystem.
The power of that is like, with just matching the vote, you will know what people have voted before, and you will vote similarly, but with also tying into some form of like identity in the ecosystem where you are residing, you can also have some idea about how these people will vote in the future or what type of topic. So
What is my DRep doing? Is he acting?
I love that idea, but
Is he saying
some
ahead
form
of
of
time,
tool
hey,
to
I'm gonna participate,
also
and here's what I
update
plan
where
to
you
do, and
are
here's
on
my
this map.
reasoning for it?
But
They
it
put
needs
on
to be
chain, or they put it off chain, doesn't matter,
updatable
but they communicate it to
and
the
simple
delegators.
because it will
And
be
then
outdated so
delegators get
quickly.
afterwards
Yeah.
confirmation, hey.
I think if it was just like doing things on governance, then there should it should be auto-generated.
Without
on
any
blockchain,
judging, it's
right?
like,
Mhm.
this is
That's
what
what
they
the
voted,
proposals
this is what
end
the
up
proposal
saying.
was. They also have a
Absolutely,
notice
that
from
part is
before that says,
the
this is
Where's,
what they
where's
said
the
they would
body
do.
of the proposal?
Now you can make your own decision, like, there's no judging.
Do you mean like the
or anything, it's just
rationale of it,
here's the
or-
facts.
I mean, like,
That's what's on chain.
what goes on chain should be like a fairly lean verification of the whole proposal. Right, so where's the rest of it?
Right now, it's gonna be
Yes,
hosted
it's an anchor. You can have
through.
there's three anchors. You have one for voting,
and then
one
as
for
we
being a
kind of
DRep,
grow it, there
and
could be
one
ways to
for the
centralize
actual
it,
governance
there could
section
be ways
itself.
to,
This
integrate
anchor
the IDs.
points
It really
usually to
depends on
a
kind of
web page or a
what is
GitHub
the
or
desire to
something,
do.
and it has a
Because I
matching
think
hash,
there's a lot of, like,
so you know that document.
people that would participate,
is,
but they don't
So
wanna have to go
URL
to
and version?
GitHub,
Yeah, something like that.
you know,
Yeah.
or-
Okay, but like I pull like a dynamically built web page on GitHub, and it's gonna show me.
my Facebook, whatever, I don't have to
It
go
would just
to
be like the raw file or
the
something. Like,
DRep Twitter to find out what
they could just update the version, I'll get a different hash.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
That's the
So
problem.
And there's the SIP 100 that's trying to standardize this as a JSON with some fields and everything. But still you have this problem of you need some form of indexer to store the different histories of this. Because if not, you will not be held accountable when you just change it after.
Like version
That's what I was saying,
Yeah.
it depends on what's the.
And that's a lot of data.
What's the scope of the DRep?
And where do we put that data for the future reference?
Going to act on technology, maybe.
So
it's
that's
more
why I've
relevant
been a
for the
big
ecosystem.
proponent of, I want all these governance actions to be public domain. So unless you specifically say that
I have a reason
this should not be
delegate
public
stake
domain,
because I
then
get
it
something
should
from
be public
I get
domain.
staking
So that
pools and I don't
indexes
get a
are
fail
able to
stake.
store
Now,
and
which pool I
hold you
choose
accountable to.
is probably less relevant for most people.
Proposals
like
should
in
be
the long
quite
run,
small data,
but
right? It's
that I
just
choose a
a text
pool
file.
or not choose a pool.
Usually it would be
For
a
DReps,
text
I don't choose a
file
DRep
with
or
a
don't choose a
rationale.
DRep. The only thing that happens is
Yeah.
some governance is
Is there
going on
on
over there that,
licensing?
you know,
Stuff
may
as
affect
well?
me.
Let's say, for
People don't
example,
think of that.
proposals have to be like
all the
a
time.
Creative Commons.
Currently, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it is the same as the
But it
licenses.
probably
But I
should
think in
be.
this scenario, what if a DRep
I have not seen that.
proposes a governance
I admit
for a
it's like
treasury
3 weeks since the last time I checked on SanchoNet,
withdraw?
but no,
and
it's
commits
just regular
to-
text files with proposals.
To pay the delegators if
So yeah, that's the problem,
governance
but
action is approved.
it answers how we acquire delegators, is the mapping.
I mean, you can even propose it, but
Based
still
on
need
delegate, I think we have also
whatever
the
our
point of
percentage would be,
delegators, we
60%.
want
Yeah, I
to
mean,
have
that's-
the
70%
Then we
of
have
other
institutional
DReps to
control.
participate and vote yes on it too.
For example, for Swarm,
It's
we
like-
created a shit
So
ton of
if you have it,
communities
it's pretty
over the
big
last
polluted, I mean, this is the whole
We
problem.
don't
It's
even
not
have 50
through the traffic
delegators,
system,
because
right?
most of the
Like,
people
all
we
the
onboard
DReps,
become
like,
SPOs
let's
and
just
fucking
enter
stuff.
Yeah.
We do this in 3 years,
Also,
I
right.
created a bunch, and the only real support is cut out foundation.
Yeah, you would have, like, if you can drive the entire ecosystem, you could change.
If not, you would have to pay for it.
That's interesting. So one of the things what was discussed in the Norwegian workshop was like these DReps creating lists together. So when there was a proposal, they will join together on that list, and they will vote What
Vil du være med opp etterpå?
what similarly on the same type of topics?
Og så presentere, eller
To
ja,
your
resten.
type of
Og
organization,
gå gjennom
like yeah, maybe all
Miro.
of your people
Og
will
gå
be
gjennom
here,
Miro.
so you could
Hvis
have
du
this
vil være
like
med.
overviewing list, so you know all of these representing.
Eller hvis det ikke er Øystein.
And all this way swarm, way something.
Ja, det er med.
Make it visible.
Like towing the party line, having politics and whips and all that sort of thing.
It's a bit dangerous territory, yeah, but yeah, that's what we are doing. This is governance.
So one of the questions I've always had is when you're choosing your DRep, is that per proposal? Is that for all proposals that are on the table currently, or yeah, or is it?
Full delegation to one DRep on your wallet, so you could have multiple wallets and choose between different DReps, but currently like you can't like split it up, so I like this DRep on that topic and this one. So that's an interesting observation.
So then you suddenly need to have be able to choose a DRep who you think can represent you across a whole broad range of.
DRep is to report and to keep you comfortable to
That's why I
keep
think
your
the second question, how do we promote ourselves?
Yeah.
I know there's two things being built right now.
Yeah,
One's
but you have to be on the ball then, almost as much as
and then there is
someone who's going to be doing the evaluations of the books.
Yeah.
This is another reason why I think organizations will form as DReps,
Yeah.
because it's so hard to see.
not quite sure.
That,
It's very similar
that
to what
leads us
you're
into the
doing, but
how to communicate
and
them.
these tools I think are going to be crucial for both
Because like
finding out
no, we talked about it earlier. That knowing how well, a DRep should have to should be able to communicate out to their delegators. How am I going to vote on this? And the other way around as well. They should voice their opinion and how they think you should vote. Like,
Is that a two-way communication channel?
yeah, I mean it should be, and I know it's been it is something that is being worked on. I know Ada Handel is working on something.
And Patrick?
Sorry?
And Patrick?
Yeah, Patrick's also doing something. The report. So yeah.
I think I would want like a standardized way, absolutely most
Yeah.
basic bare bones, something that like akin to ADRs of like why you made a decision,
Yeah.
which is like strongly recommended, so that when I compare DReps, I don't have to be like, oh, this person communicates on Twitter, this person's
Yeah, exactly, because then you don't know, you don't get that information at all.
So like
So
an absolute basic one, and then just let people free will, like however that community wants to engage.
Yeah, I mean how they want to spread it, that's up to them, but it should be a one specific place where you can find everything.
We can experience already from the SPOs, right? Most of the SPOs, if they want to have a communication channel, they set it up themselves. Some do it on Twitter, some on Slack, some on Telegram, or whatever. I think this is really important as well. To say, okay, the DRep should be able to decide themselves which communication channel they want.
Yeah.
Like you said, there could be a, I think, a dashboard would be awesome to have really
being known and
oversight
then
of all this stuff.
not
going
or
micromanagement.
yeah.
I think like just whatever email is, right? You join a company, you have an email. How you do the rest of your communication up to you, but like there is one official channel that you will do like the absolute
Yeah,
necessary on.
because if everybody starts sending emails to each other, then that DRep will be sitting there answering emails.
Just like you're publishing why
Yeah.
you made the decision.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, 3 bullet points.
Weekly newsletter.
I think it should be in the anchor, how when you do a voting,
Yeah.
you should always reference to some place. So as long as you have that on-chain way to know where's the communication happening, then I think it's fine.
But if there was like, we're talking about text documents here, like there's minimal infrastructure. That if it's like pointing at GitHub or some like personal website, that's already a nightmare. If we're just asking them to save a text document, like those links will break. I won't be able to just like, what do you say, crawl this chain and just take all the data and then process it. Like, if we're good now, we could just say this bit will be formulaic and everyone will be the same.
So there's an example of this sort of on SPOs. We have metadata on-chain of SPOs, and we have extended metadata for SPOs. That's the voluntary part. So on the metadata, we describe very basic Actually, well, what you need to delegate
you said
to
like a
that
browser game,
person.
and we had
For
like
a DRep, that could be
200,
like code of
300
conduct
players,
and
we were
the voting
competing in,
process.
like,
And
like
extended
votes
metadata
with
could
larger
then
games. So
show
they were a little bit more
all
complacent,
of your
they
voting
weren't as
process and your
active.
rationale. And
So
as long as
we
that's
were
like
able to like
standardized,
take their
let's
ground
say SIP 100,
essentially and win
then it should be
these-
super
these,
easy for indexers
like
to do
popularity
as well.
contests
So
just by being more engaged.
I get your point,
So
but
if you can
it
engage
should,
a larger,
as long as you do the
audience
on-chain
with
part and
less,
standardize stuff, then
I think
I'm
you may
leaning
still,
towards
because you
what
still have
Felix
to vote,
says.
right? It's not sufficient.
Then it should be up
have
to
the
the
stuff.
DRep, whatever
actually have to
communication
vote it, I
channel they
think.
do. As long as the
DReps will
on-chain
be
part is.
voting or acting much
Can
more
I just
transparent
shoehorn in
on many
something?
things
Yeah.
than
It's-
regular politicians.
What we're
Like, if I
describing
asked you
is
what
a
your
need
local
for
representative,
some, like,
voted on
essentially
in the
L2,
last
right?
40 days,
We have an application
you wouldn't
here,
have a
not
way
everything
to
can go on
find
the
out
L1,
easily unless
we
you
need an
have a
L2.
tool around
I
it.
mean, this
But
would
on
be
blockchain,
a great demonstration
there's
of,
gonna be an explorer that will show
again,
you
it's
this.
totally a minimal
snap
L2.
of
We
things.
just
Well,
need to
you have
store
to
these
set
text
another
files
tool,
that are
It's
hashed.
much more easy to discover
chain.
what your representatives do.
It would be great if the
So
L1
I
could
think,
like
which
verify this
will
L2,
sway
this
the
the
masses
L2 is in the right
more
state,
often
or whatever.
than
Like,
if you have,
it's
like,
better
big
than just a
pockets.
random URL.
I agree
Oh,
with
yeah.
you. It was even a topic in Edinburgh, the exact thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would just be so great to be like, this is the blueprint about how to L2
Mhm.
at the most basic type, right?
That's a
Because
cool idea.
L2s are not complicated, but they're hard enough to be non-trivial. We have this group of SPOs who can run services, just like Mithril, right?
Another interesting thing
Not
would
a
be the
L2, right? But it's a
DRep
service
that's
that you can bolt on.
like,
Yeah.
And this is just a service you can bolt on. And it's
custody
like, it
links,
could just,
right?
like,
If
Trailblaze.
if I use
You want to
the
deploy a
protocol,
decentralized application, a
so
truly
we have
decentralized
cameras
application,
already, so
we've
this
got
is
one
indirect
in
link.
the
I have my
DRep,
thing locked with somebody
voting
else.
records.
Now,
And the beauty of
Do
that
they
is
still
we
have
can
to
already
act in my best
start
interest?
developing that, and then
I'm
we can
getting
put it
paid,
in the
you know,
metadata,
giving interest
follow
with
the
this front
data on this
protocol.
layer 2.
can I
And
complain
then
if they do
can opt
something
in.
else?
You know, how much I care.
Yeah,
They do something
how
else.
much do you care in that case?
Okay.
Because for those protocols, their
What's the next
marketing
one?
strategy
Dan
may be, hey,
45 minutter.
my product is the best, you get the best
Yeah, that's the
ROI.
one.
You know, let's block your AWS.
Mhm. Docs or undocs?
We may need to discuss how delegators
paid for one, but
communicate
they
to the
also
community,
then have
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not how we go
I think the
communicate
constitution should
how,
have something like
sorry, I'm going around,
an agreement.
how users
If you're gonna
communicate to
use
DReps.
Yeah, but it's the other way around.
Because I
How
mean,
DReps
It's
communicate.
just whichever channel that
Yeah.
counts.
but there should be some notice. or
Yep,
something.
that's
So
what
like
we
philosophically there, should it be the delegators who decide how the DRep votes, like programmable, almost like a vote, whatever you do, I'm just like a medium that will convey the will of whatever, or should the DRep be some form of expert who the delegators trust and they will actually do some kind of judgment on their own. I see this as an axis and I see both of those things happening currently at the same time now. We have Twitter, the programmable DReps.
Both will definitely happen.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, but
you will
you
have
have to,
a
like,
lot of
you have to show
delegators who are
interest.
passive.
Right, if you're
I mean,
delegating to
they
the
just,
DRep,
I
you're
trust
not
this
showing
guy,
interest because
I
you've
delegate him,
actively delegated, so if I delegate
I
to you,
don't care.
then there's a
They're
chance,
just gonna
higher
delegate
chance
and
than
let the
zero,
DRep do their thing.
that
That's the
I
whole
actually
idea of
follow
the
them
crypto
to.
democracy.
If
You
I
have
have
the
been in a
passive
DRep
Yeah,
protocol,
that's a one type of delegator. Then you have the other type who's in Automator or whatever, yelling out their opinions. Right?
And how much are
They
what you are
either they
receiving,
become a DRep themselves,
because you could
or they
change
or
easily
they will
from state to
constantly
operator. But as a matter-
talk with the
me,
DRep
honestly, I
to
just delegate
voice
one
their
that I
opinion
trust, but I'm not
and
looking at
Yeah, so you have two different communication standards. One is some form of voting standard, where you just convey and vote or convey the opinion of your delegators, and then you're the conduit. And then you have other communication where you actually have to provide some form of channel of discussion,
we don't know.
and then
And then there's ways
making
where
your
it's like, it's
rationale.
still.
So I just
my
wanted to
state
bring that
rewards
up, that
and
we're
they
talking
just have
about
the
two
control of the
different
funds
types
themselves,
of
the smart
communication.
contract has.
I'm also wondering.
Yeah, last one is the fun one, I guess. Yeah, just
guess we,
doxing.
Just one last point, because I think what you would think would some sort of anyway gathering knowledge and experience.
It would, not necessarily because the, yes, but it depends, it depends on that, some protocols can do it and some can, and then others you still retain control of this.
I'm just thinking it's a case of maybe my voting power.
So in some cases, in some cases, I could, if we have tooling and the tooling.
This is why I'm optimistic, is because I think over time, like these programmable DReps that just like passively conveying opinions to the other, they will disappear because it will be much more powerful for the DReps to actually share their rationale, and they will create a better governance results over time. So that's my hope at least.
for this thing.
And because a lot of people will be seeing the ones who are being loud, not being passive, it's going to be like you're setting the standard just slowly.
Was provided by me.
Just takes time.
Things like that.
As for the docs or undocs, didn't we
We already talked about it, yeah.
Earlier, like,
But what is their intention to do?
that's already a topic that has been brought up.
Yeah.
Maybe a spot poll with this group.
Should it sound like a...
Would you docs?
No, would you delegate to a DRep that wasn't doxed?
Yeah.
I just want to add to that. So I was a lot over there. So my opinion is that the identity of the identity is not really the important part. I mean,
Yeah, that's why they use
it
that.
is the accountability.
It's the same thing with like
Yeah.
So I mean, if you have a DRep that can do whatever you want and you don't be accountable for it, that's risky.
And that's where the identity are.
Just a short question. Even
Yeah.
with docs mean, anyone
Oh yeah. Who wants to take it?
If they're identified or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you
No,
order
the only way I
pizza
would
to
know
their
is if you have
home?
go active in
We'll
there.
send a
It's
SWAT
like
team.
saying,
Let's say
all
you
your
have an
money,
anonymous account on
have to
Twitter,
go and check your
and
balance.
somebody reveals your full identity.
Then you're doxed, so they know who you are and all that stuff.
You don't want
Yeah.
it to happen. Actually. So
Yeah, so a lot of people are not doxed online, so they're just like their personalities are there. But
Take Twitch streamers that get police raided.
yeah, you don't want that.
would be a cool experience. Hopefully one time, but yeah, gonna do that.
Hopefully, we could do it later if you want. We could just like show up at your hotel room, like yeah, hi.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
What's the first time I heard it?
Yeah. So we use the term doxed because it's yeah.
You are definitely new to
Yeah, I am.
Oh, we love it. We love it.
I think so like I said, I think the idea is that the identity itself really doesn't matter. I mean, you can be as unidentifiable as you want, as long as you can be accountable for what you're doing.
Yes.
we have some really good examples like Buidling, etc. We don't need to know exactly who they are.
Yeah.
They make themselves accountable.
How many years have we had
I think one of our
No, we
major
have
goals should be
tools.
protect
We
protect
Yeah, we
privacy.
have
Yeah.
and they're
Make
boxed,
sure
but
if
they're
people
not
want to stay
designed
at
for
do everything possible to make sure
Yeah. I think we can also raise the standard after all. When DID comes in more and more, it will be a lot easier to be accountable without doxing yourself.
Yeah.
So right now it's you kind of have to dox yourself a little bit at least to be accountable. If you don't have anything to hang what you're doing on, you're really not accountable. So yeah.
I think it's just one of another social issues, right?
Yeah.
It's just
It is.
if people don't like you undoxed, they stop delegating to you.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference
Then again,
in notification systems.
as is right now in the code of conduct, I don't think we've
chat
said
is
it,
for
but
me talking to my
it's
SPO.
it's not a set of rules.
I don't like what you did.
It's
Yeah.
guidelines.
Exactly.
It's just
but that's not what I'm thinking
just
is the
recommendations.
That was very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
as a delegator.
as far as I know,
and
nothing
something
is
and it
nothing is
shouldn't
or nothing
happen
will
where
be
you want it to
stopping
happen. It
anyone
should happen
from being
wherever,
totally undoxed as a DRep.
And that is the, I
If
think
they
that is the
want.
most crucial thing.
It goes against all the recommendations.
So it shouldn't be handled by the
But
by the
they're still free to do so if they want to.
handled by the
The code of
Not
conduct
being forced
is-
to do that.
Not forcing anyone to do
Yeah.
anything. As a minimum, we
If it's
just say
decentralized or not in
you
the
should have a
beginning, doesn't
communication
matter.
channel.
We need to
Yeah.
get that
That kind of
to
makes sense.
like
Yeah.
see is the
So I
value
mean,
there.
if
Yeah, but
someone
I'm saying
wants to
it
be
doesn't depend on the
totally
DRep.
undoxed,
Yeah,
and
you know, exactly.
they find a way
It's
to
like,
get
how do we find
delegators
By
and
outreach.
be
So
trusted
they're the SPO
without
and
doxing
the
themselves.
DRep has to go.
Go for it.
I think that would work well for companies.
I don't
You know,
Companies,
we talked about last session, or we were like, okay, but if a company can disclose how many they're representing, and not necessarily telling you exactly who it is that they're representing, you would be able to have like a best of both worlds, where you are doxed by which company it is, but not who is a part of it.
Yeah,
But you
not
know them.
necessarily, doxing which representative of the company is
Yes.
voicing their opinion or voting. You only know that this is the MBO or the organization or whatever.
Regarding the thing on guidelines, I think that makes sense when you don't really know the best practice and stuff. But regarding what is best practice, I just reiterate what I said in the previous session, which is just make doing the right thing as easy as possible. So regarding like making standardized ADRs or like decision records about what you did with things, commenting on proposals and broadcasting that in a time manner. If that tooling is as easy as possible, then people will come along and be like, okay, yeah, I'll just do that. If you make it just add some friction, we'll just get fragmentation immediately.
Every time I vote, I share the docs or undocs should both have their space and both some permissions what you can actually do. For example, Polkadot's really cool, like you have several governance UIs. And if I don't set up anything, I can, for example, comment on proposals. But I can't vote. I can't submit a proposal. And the on-chain identity costs something. I have to log 20 docs, it's around 200 bucks currently, something like that. I have to log it to my on-chain identity. And with this on-chain identity, I can do stuff. And it's different governance UIs which provide different identities.
Now I have a whole Discord and I have
that's when you don't use one
at the same time that are
dealing with
for example,
build a core infrastructure, engage people to build their own UIs, like iDonation, for example.
They call the delegators their cartoon. It's like a community, and they offer services for them.
As long as
I don't know, if you
as
want
long as the model works for everyone. I mean, like you say, it's what was it, 200 bucks?
You get the confidence
so
that this group is
for everyone here, no problem.
I know politics cool stuff, but they
make a
I don't take it as we should do the same, I just said
it's great
because when you go onto identity,
you earn your delegation
you
that
have
way.
to put some
DRep
stake in the game. To be honest, if it's for free, nothing
What is
stops
the
you from
percentage
just
of people
generating shit.
in your
And then
Discord
what makes
But I mean, you can put stake in without putting actual monetary value on it. There are other. I mean, just identify yourself, for example. That's putting a repetition stake.
But then again, we should also put, or what was I going to say? We should make it not that you have to, I guess, identify. I mean, I personally, I am doxed, but I wouldn't want to, you know, because it's dangerous and stuff like that. But yeah.
Maybe it should be like this degree of like how much accountable you should be, how much identity you should reveal should depend on the seriousness of what you're doing. Like for example, we're sort of doing this already. Like the CC or the Constitutional Committee is going to be they are going to be doxed, right? And that's so massive, because could you imagine like only 5 people voting something constitutional not and all of them being fully...
I get that.
So, but when you come then down to the individual government section, maybe it doesn't matter that much, then you have... And my default is like, whenever you can afford more freedom, you give it. So,
I have information overload.
I don't want to dox.
Yeah, that's why you should be choosing.
We're trying to solve the problem with the only solution we have to it, to dox it, but if I found another way, so that's why I'm a big proponent of like zero knowledge proof, if you can do this doxing without. But my main point here is like the more serious the action is, the more we should require in terms of accountability. And that's to your point, like different types of
send one note, you say, I want to tell my
Picking up on alternative types of stake, if we do have this communication channel, and that in itself becomes a kind of a stake in the game, because if you imagine someone like Cardano Whale being a DRep, then his actual, he's undoxed, but his Twitter profile is highly valuable. I mean, someone could get that off his hands, then that would be, you know, and that was a concern at one point, is that he's come back as, he's disappeared for a while, and he's come back and it's actually someone else who's got hold of his account. Actually, if he's put that up as his his stake,
Said, hey,
that's,
we want
that's fairly
you to vote
significant.
for A, this,
Or Josephine
vote for something
on
else.
Twitter.
And then
Yeah.
maybe you had a
I love Josephine. It's so But you're giving a very valid concern, and that's one of the things I'm most concerned with actually is due to us not having saturation limits on DReps, popularity attacks. Like someone having such a hugely popular account, getting all of the delegation, and then selling it or whatever, hostile takeover. That's a real threat.
I think Charles would be a delegate as a DRep.
Yeah, just imagine that. Like, holy, that would be so incentivized then for people to delegate.
Nothing else. I want to connect my wallet and the channels
Yes,
in
it's
which I
Toulouse,
want to
right?
notify.
Rat
And
pool or
that's-
something.
that's-
That makes me happy, you know?
It's actually,
Yeah.
that's a cool thing, but I think also down the line for more middle long term, and this is something what we experimented and building not with singularity.
If you ask the youth today,
Contribution system and reputation system.
Is anyone not using email?
it's not about using it, it's about being convenient.
Because ideally, if you want
I think about
KYC
how
or
willing
something
is a
like
person
that,
to inform
and formalize what
Compare-
does
like,
reputation actually mean.
It really depends on that.
Yes, that's an open source developed ecosystem. You can make a lot of knowledge from open
Like
source.
this one, I like it. If
Reputation systems? No. I agree, and there's lots of literature on different types of reputation systems.
Ja, gud, vi må hinna igen. We've gone over time.
Very simple because we are very some parameters are, for example, you already submitted a proposal. For example, they won't get approved or not. This creates a more lot of history for your wallet age. So how long do you hold the asset already? You have when they try comments. Did you submit a comment on the proposal? Did you receive thumbs up or thumbs down? This also fits in. How is important is this reputation score is added to the proposal. So you try to make up ideas now, but this is already happening. Most of the time,
Veldig morsom måte du får ta det selv på.
Hva?
Det går ikke å reise opp igjen. Ikke gjør noe mer, bare stå der og holde deg rett opp.
Å ja, så må du vente til alle andre. Nei, nei, nei. Skal du, har du muligheten til hjelp? Øystein? Har du muligheten til hjelp med ja? See what happens.
Mailing is not good as strategy.
Bare vi går gjennom alt, egentlig.
No. Maybe.
No, you turned it off.
It's not.
Oh yeah, of course.
I barely see everyone's posts. 1%, hopefully.
I would just try to write.
Yeah, sure.
I think it should be on the wallet. And if you don't want the notifications, you don't need to integrate the chat.
Yeah.
Social media, easy, quickly, is the
Just waiting for the...
more on time for the people, not email.
Hi guys.
It's 1%.
Yeah, hi, welcome back from the sessions. We'll see, we haven't written anything, but I think we could just do like a hand raising thing and discuss the questions. If that works. Let me just pick, I forgot this one. So yeah, thank you. So yeah, how do we acquire delegators? That was the first question that we discussed. Yeah. Tinder. We did Tinder. Yeah.
3 years, I still don't know.
Yeah. No, but we came up with Tinder. Like you could just like do like a matchmaking thing for like, oh yeah, you like this thing, I also like this thing. So maybe we should like.
Matchmaking here.
Yeah, matchmaking. Yeah. Tinder. Yeah, Tinder for DReps. That would be. I mean, it could work.
More specifically, like, some process where you just scrape the data off the chain,
Yeah.
you look at the same proposals, see how you would vote, and then get matched with the DReps, like listed, like whose voting record you're
Yeah.
closest to.
Yeah.
And then you say who would have done it.
Yeah, it would work. I personally think it would work, and along with the time as well. No, I would with the time as well. When you get the record, you'll have finer data, or data will be much more specific, and you'll be able to pick out more, people who might be interested.
There's an interesting challenge there too. We asked earlier about the DRep's specialties. So if you have one DRep, your expectation would be, they vote on everything. But if we tell the DReps, well, it's okay if you are a specialist in one field, but not, maybe you are not super into economy, but you are, on the technical side very knowledgeable. I will never vote on these economy related things. How am I matched up?
Yeah.
What's going to work? What's going to happen? And I have to split my wallet just so that I can vote to people. So I will probably, as a delegator, try to find somebody who's like participates in everything. It may not be the best because they may be, mediocre knowing everything.
And not that specific one.
A multi-party DRep, community
Yep.
Yeah.
These delegation, indirect thing.
Yeah. Like it. Did we have anything else that we?
We didn't touch upon it, but I want to add to it. Is that we a lot of DReps already have a community around them, and a lot of SBOs, for example, they have a community around them. We got different projects. They have Discord channels, Telegram, whatever. It's going to be natural for a lot of them to become DReps.
Yeah.
They basically be the voice of the community that they already have.
Yeah. I think we also, building on that, we also talked about geographical locations and just finding specific things that you care about. You talked a lot about that.
You could have geographical, but also interest groups. So are you representing, for example, a specific DeFi sector or whatever? Or more broadly, are you an environmentalist? Are you voting on CNC Alliance stuff? Those are 3 different approaches. But I think it will form around expertise. So we'll have organizations trying to feel this sort of what Niels says, everything. And that's going to likely be a default. But it is problematic if you only have a few of these larger organizations being the DReps, because that's not a very interactive and active governance system. So we need to find ways to encourage the specialists, and maybe that's geographical regions, because, for example, local treasuries, people in the Latin community would know best how to implement Latin projects. It makes sense, right? Yeah. So, I hope that will develop as well. And I'm not saying that because of geography should be something you only want, but for things where you need to have a local understanding, I think it makes total sense for it to be like that.
Yeah, just finding your own niche, basically. So whether it's geographical interest or being an active part of whatever community that will bring you a specific interest. That's a good way of finding delegators if you are more niche.
Yeah, I agree.
How do we, so the current system requires an overall threshold. It's not based on, subgroups, right? So how do we encourage, it doesn't matter what the interest group is. Let's say regional, because that's why we did wars for the last couple of years. What is the reason, let's say, Latin community, the DReps in that region that know, they make a proposal, they know what's needed, they have, the knowledge. What is the incentive, or why would other DReps from other regions, vote for it? This is the same problem we already have on Catalyst. Why would I vote for this thing
when you have that
this
kind
other thing is much closer to home, regardless of geography or a project that I already support? So, and it doesn't matter what the value of the proposition is. So how do we make sure, or are there plans in CIP 1694 to have more subgroups that have their own treasuries maybe, so they can more freely access that.
Yeah, you could imagine like something like a broader treasury project where you have alliances from different geographical regions that like agree to some form of standard how they're going to use these funds, and then distributing to the different sub treasuries and having local votes on those as well.
Yeah.
So the community will vote on this global part of the fund, and then it will be distributed after. But yeah, that's an excellent, excellent question.
Do you have anything else?
I was also thinking that as a DRep, it could be interesting to offer your delegators a good set of advisors, that you have a good set of advisors. For example, I think it would be a good idea if you are not an expert on marketing, for example, or in finance, you get a good set of financial advisors and vote based on those financial advisors or tech advisors. And maybe you can vote on all proposals, disregard of you're expert on that, but because you have a good set of advisors on that matter, and that you can promote to the community to gain more delegation.
Yeah. This is a new role that could emerge, political, not advisor as your employee, for example,
no,
but also political consultant. We have several political consultants in Canada.
For example, it's one of the most time-consuming points for Polkadot delegators right now. If they vote very often, and if you're a catalyst reviewer from the past, you did it very often like as well, right? You can, most of the proposal you can review yourself. There's some topics where you need experts, and you need to reach out to them. This takes shitload of time, right? Because already you need to know the people, you need to set up the communication, you have to introduce the person to the whole thing, and you need to develop this feedback loop, right? And this takes massive resources actually, but it's really important to think about the individual never is only the individual. You always have the context, right? And each of us, we have relations. SPOs have relations, DReps will have relations. But it's interesting to say, okay, let's not try to optimize the individual, but try to incentivize strong social groups actually, and small networks that where you can make sure nobody of us is perfect, right? We all at some point come to our limit, and then we need others. I think this sometimes very strong as well when we can observe some SPOs, right, which are greatly connected to the ecosystem, but then it's like Rick McCracken, for example. Not liking that he's running fucking self-stake, but he's insanely strong, right? With connecting people and pulling experiences from different domains together. This we can apply to DReps, I think, as well.
I think that's where we also want to use these sub-protocols to do that, because when we start thinking about advisors, like, that can get tricky really fast, in my opinion, because I have an advisor, and like he will tell me like, don't support that proposal, and here's why. And then I personally think though, like, no, I think I want this proposal for whatever my selfish gain, whatnot. And so I vote for it, and then afterwards, unless I have like, for example, through like a governance portal that is not SIP 1694, but again one of those that we already have, I could just say, like, no, my
This
advisor
guy told me to, yeah.
Right. So and they wouldn't have any proof, other than like their own reputation. So we would want to make sure that it doesn't happen behind closed. Even this advisory needs to happen in the open.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll just recreate what we currently have, which is like behind closed doors discussions.
That's an excellent point. I think what we'll see, like for some core issues, like a typical example will be protocol parameters related to some security issue. Like you really want to have then like a public debate on that, and maybe different experts vote in on that. You should have some platform for that, and then all of the DReps can say we follow this or this argument from that public debate. So it's fully transparent, and you cannot say like, oh, it's just an advice. It's not my own responsibility. You actually have to then say what you agree to from that advice.
Again, the PCPs that we currently have, for example, like they're a good start. The parameter committee proposal things. But again, they're in a forum. Anybody can go in there and post anything necessarily. Like, put your signature on there and show me that you actually reviewed it and agree or disagree with that as a technical expert. Then we're fine.
I'm thinking about free competition between DReps, and if as much transparent I am towards my delegators, I will gain more delegation. So if I want to make public my advisor's document and commit to voting that, and my delegators know what I'm going to vote because I had that documentation made public, I will gain more delegators. Maybe other DRep doesn't want to do that and just want to scam the delegators. Well, if he's not being transparent, he will have less delegation. So why do I have to implement some kind of technology to make?
Well, you don't have to.
Because if you leave it to competing between them, well, the one that is more transparent will get more delegation.
I wish.
Yeah.
I would disagree with that because we have the entire stateful system right now, and that is not the case. Right? I'm sure some of you here are stateful operators. That's not how it works.
There's even pools that's not active anymore that still has delegations.
Yeah.
I would quite like some standardized way that is highly recommended. It's not enforced.
Yep.
That says this is how you communicate. Which I suggested they like Trailblaze and L2 just for this. So when you vote on chain, you point at your ADR about why you made a decision, like not an A, but like I decided this. It's a short textual document. You can point at other places, but like if all good DReps do this, and then you can oversee all of them, and it's not just like I tweeted about it. I wrote in my private Discord why I did this. It's just a nightmare.
Can we enforce as a consensus rule automatic undelegation every year or two or something?
We did actually discuss that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
it
did. It
was
was if you were inactive for a specific amount of time, then you would automatically either undelegate or be put on pause or something, so that you would also be responsible to
You're
do.
talking the delegator or the DRep?
DRep loses all his delegation.
Oh,
if
that's
the
different.
DRep is inactive.
Regardless.
Oh, so everybody then.
Like a hard, once a year, check in. If
The
you're-
re-election.
Like a season.
Like a season. Every
DRep season 2.
Reset of DReps.
Yeah.
That's actually a bit cool because that's a bit more predictable for the delegators to then.
Yeah, like
do
the
that.
re-election every 5 years we have like for presidents. Or
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea because it encourages the people to be active.
Yeah.
Because right now we have a lot of stake it and forget it, and those people, again, we see dead pools that still have millions of ADA delegated to them.
Yeah, what's my incentive though to delegate? Like again, for a pool, if it's a retired pool, I don't get rewards. That's an incentive for me. What's my incentive to re-elect somebody? Like
That you need to make you get rewards.
we need to create transparency into what is the benefit for the delegator to actually
You
go
don't get
and
rewards.
re-elect anybody.
You don't
Doesn't
get the
matter.
NFTs.
We don't get rewards.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, if you don't delegate to a specific DRep, you don't get the stake rewards.
That's not how it works right now, right?
No, because of that.
Yeah, no country does this, right? Where they're just like, oh, people have to have a referendum before they get an election. Like, the election's just enforced.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Council services
Next one.
results if you don't vote, you don't.
It's
Har vi
Australia,
tid?
right? You get fined if you don't vote.
Det gjør vi nok ikke.
Good money.
I mean, we have 5 minutes, so we could actually either do how do we promote ourselves or how do we communicate. I think the communication part was something that both of you discussed, like really long. Yeah, I think that one is the most interesting one for all of us. Like, how do you want to communicate with your delegators? And yeah.
Like high level, I see it like 2 different ways. You have some DReps who are actually like just a conveyor of the will of the delegator, so they can program that whatever majority of my delegators vote, what I will vote, they will vote. So they need one form of communication, and that's just like sort of like an internal voting platform. And then you have the DReps who's like more the representative, who actually then has some 2-way communication and tries to give a rationale to why they are doing a decision. I hope the second one is the one that will win and develop over time, because that's the one that creates what I will call more efficient governance, because you actually have to always give a justification. The first one is just like passively conveying the will of everyone, whilst the second one is more like a filter, more working like the representative.
But is that the the case with staples, for example?
No, they're just passive forces of the will. Yeah, they're absolutely right. So this is just my opinion. So that's up to debate.
Yeah.
Also, I think it really depends on the DRep, right? So, no, on the on the delegators. I mean, a lot of delegators will be passive.
Yeah.
Like, they really don't care. They find a DRep, they like the DRep for whatever reason, and they decide to delegate to that DRep. And let the DRep do all the decisions. It's like, I trust this guy. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Leave it at that. They don't want or need much communication at all.
Yeah.
Others might be a lot more active. They want to talk with their DRep, and that's where we need to have some kind of communication channel, and whether that's standardized or whether that's you have, like I said, you will have DReps who are already a part of a community or have a community of their own. They have their own channels that they already can talk with them. So they already they will just continue to use Discord or Telegram or Twitter or whatever they're using today because it works.
Yeah. I'm just thinking for my own experience, it would be nice to have one standardized version because, of course, you have Telegram, Discord, Twitter, all of those, and being able to find out who or where we're communicating would be just like if you had one place where you're like, okay, I'm sure if I go there, that's what I'm going to get. Nothing else. It's not going to be anything other than what I'm looking for. But of course, it's up to the DReps and it's up to how they're comfortable because of course we can't force everybody onto one platform if they are not comfortable with it. So, yeah.
I think as for that, I think the most important part of the most important communication that needs to come is the voting.
Yeah, true.
So if we can find a way to standardize that is universally accessible for everyone, because then people can, at least in retrospect, they can see, okay, my DRep's voting totally against what I'm doing. I'm going to change. So they're not really talking to each other, but the actions are communicated.
Yeah.
To add to that, like we discussed, could you, like in the SPO world, you have metadata and extended metadata. So all of the good explorers are managing to show both. And the first one is like the really standardized, and then you can express yourself more fully in the extended metadata. Could you have something similar here where you have a standard communication channel that's made through the metadata, and then you can have all of the optional things you want to do in this extended metadata? And that's sort of like a middle ground of those two things.
Yeah.
I think the main channel maybe don't has to be a main, let's say, hub or forum, maybe just a dashboard, which is in service for the DRep, because that's also a thing. We have to assume DRep will be a full-time job. So we don't want to ask them for more what they already do with voting.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So anything what is dashboard and stuff should be in service for the DRep, not asking the DReps to build the tools for themselves.
Yeah.
They don't have time.
I agree. If you're going to have thousands DRep, you need to make it easier for them, not harder for them to do all these accountability things.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any more comments? No?
Yeah. A mantra for everything, just make it easier.
Yeah.
And the only other very broad thing that I really appreciate the discussion was about is if we don't make it easy, what we cause is fragmentation, because people will invent all of their own solutions. And then you have this problem where you have thousands of different DReps that are using all of these different methods, and it's so hard to find them in this ocean. So yeah, if you make it easy, it becomes by nature itself more standardized.
I think it's going to happen naturally. People are going to continue to use what they use, and someone like Pool Tool, whatever, is going to produce something that's going to show the dashboard of the labs. It will happen.
Hopefully, yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah. That was it?
Yeah.
Next one?
One question actually. Because Patrick in Fund 11 got a proposal vote for DRep Watch.
Yes.
Which is content. Okay, so and I think he's looking for somebody to take
Yeah. He was. We were going to talk about it today, but he wasn't available to do it.
Yeah,
But
I asked Patrick to come and talk about the airports, but he had to be welding, so he was doing.
Because if this already someone is already built and we funded it already with the treasury.
I think he was looking out for someone, for a community manager, something like that, or just to run the whole thing.
yeah.
It's a different platform though, more. There is something to be said about the insights into the chain, but it's much more geared towards delegators. It's like almost like a Facebook